And our fearless leader, Keisha, is here with us this morning as well. All right, it's on you. Take it away.
All right, so good morning. Thank you everyone for being a part of this presentation. I am gonna go ahead and share my screen and we're gonna jump right into it. Let's make this big, tuck that here. All right, so the topic for today, creating a message of hope through vision boards. Again, my name is Neucasha Greene and I will be presenting today. So as she mentioned, I am a school counselor out in the international zone. I am located in Yangon, Myanmar. I've been doing school counseling in total for about 3 years, but I've been in the realm of college counseling for a little bit more than that, about 6, 7 years now. My 2 years that I've been here, I worked as a K through 13 school counselor. It's a British school system. I'm originally from the Bahamas and I went to Emporia State University in Kansas and got my degree from there. And this is just a picture of me and my first graduating senior class for my birthday. They attempted to surprise me, but they're a very special group of kids. So let's go. Why a message of hope? I mean, we're living in 2020 and it feels like the twilight zone. If any of you have ever been to a vision board party or have done your own vision boards, you know the kind of excitement that comes around it. And vision boards can be inspiring, motivational. They can be used as a counseling tool to set goals with students and just kind of take it to the next level, like beyond just writing out, what are your goals for this year? A vision board is a visual tool that can help elevate those conversations that you have with students and really just give them something to look forward to. Give everyone something to look forward to with COVID-19 and COVID and just everything that has been this year. We really just need some glimmers of hope, even if it's just from our own ideas, our own dreams. And that is where that message of hope comes from. And we can also tie those dreams into concrete goals, things that we can actually achieve and set out to do as we soon to get started in the school year. So today, these are going to be the 3 points that we focus on. The first thing is how to facilitate a vision board activity as a classroom lesson. Now, there's multiple ways to do this. One being just kind of a one-off classroom session. And if you have a chunk of time, maybe about 2 to 3 hours, you can do it that way. But you can also do this as the final activity for a series of lessons on goal setting. And this can be the culminating project that the students work on, tying in everything that they've learned about goals. The other thing that we'll talk about is how to make the activity work as both an electronic and a physical activity. I know with COVID and not being sure how schools are going to be reopened or if you're going to be in some sort of hybrid situation, you can utilize this activity whether you're face-to-face in the class or if you're doing it online, it can be done. So we'll talk about how to do it both ways. And then lastly, how to modify the lesson for various audiences and age groups. You can narrow the content of the vision boards to a specific concept or an idea, or maybe you have a group of adults that you work with that you want to utilize this activity for. So we'll just talk about a couple of variations that you can do with this activity. So what is a vision board? If you have the little icon thing, why don't you indicate if you have ever attended a vision board party or done a vision board of your own? Like a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Where is that? Okay, typically at the beginning of the year. Cool. Yeah, so it's a great activity. I do my own. These images are of two that I've done. The most recent one at the bottom. Of course, there's no travel, so little to no adventures this year. But if you don't know, a vision board, it's a dream board, a collage of images, pictures, and affirmations of one's dreams and desires. And it's designed to be a source of inspiration and motivation. And some people include the law of attraction and manifestation, but I personally believe, faith without works is dead. And if you're not taking actual steps, then it's just a nice, pretty collage that you can put up on your wall. But in essence, it's just a visual creation of the things that you have in your head, those hopes, those dreams. That's what it is. Again, for this activity, you will need about 2 to 3 hours. If you are working with younger students, so maybe 6th grade or 7th grade, the students are going to need a little bit more time, especially if you're doing it on a digital platform. And even younger kids, because you can do this with elementary students, but of course they're going to need a little bit more guidance, and you're going to have to talk them through a little bit more. But if you don't have that much time, you can still start the activity and give it to the students to finish at home, and that way they can engage their parents or their guardians and have those conversations about their goals with the people in their house. It works even better if you have 2 to 3 sessions with students where you can break it up into multiple units. And again, it's really good if it's done at the end of a unit where you talk about goal setting, because it really just ties in all of those different aspects. So if you've only got one lesson to do this session, here is what you're gonna do. You're gonna start off the first 10 to 15 minutes focusing on goal setting worksheets. There's lots of those available, free or paid, or you can create your own. Teachers Pay Teachers has lots of goal setting worksheets out there. This part, you probably wanna spend about 10 to 15 minutes on it. I like to set the mood and play instrumental music just to kind of get them in a, retrospective, reflective mode. I encourage them to not, and this is me talking as though we're in a physical school. I know we have to think about the implications of what, if we're not in school, if we're partly in school, looks like. But if you are in a physical school, in a physical classroom, this is how I would approach the activity. I also encourage them to not talk to each other, because if you're talking with each other, you're not focusing on your thoughts, your ideas. So just kind of setting a mood and tone of, we're going to be thinking, we're going to be processing during this 10 to 15 minutes. Then I do a little bit of board prep, and this is just explaining how to use certain things, what certain materials are for, talking about the different supplies, especially with younger kids, just kind of setting out the rules and expectations, and then just kind of explaining what you're gonna do. You're gonna cut out materials and paste them onto the paper and things like that. And just kind of tell them, you're not going to use something, don't take it, don't cut it up, make sure that you're sharing resources. And that's about 5 minutes. And then the remainder of the time, the 1.5 hour to 2 hour time, is getting to work. And this is where you can increase the volume on the instrumental music. If you take recommendations from the students, you can have them give you some songs that you can play without the lyrics, and then just put them to work and let them have at it. And then you can just kind of walk around to monitor and answer questions that they may have, and just kind of keep that creative dynamic going on during that time. Now, if you have multiple sessions, here is how this can look. You can start your first lesson focusing on SMART goals and really honing out what are SMART goals, and reframing generic broad goals into SMART goals. And you can do worksheets for this. You can have students throw out some of their own goals and turn them into SMART goals. But this is a really good activity, especially before you have like your one-on-ones with students, to help them start thinking about what they want their future to like, but with actionable steps and actionable points of references to know that they've achieved their goals, and just start getting them to reframe their idea about the goals that they have. They might want to do better in high school, but what does that mean? Can we narrow that down? Let's turn that into a SMART goal and break that down even further. Or lesson 2, you can have a few more worksheets for them to do, but here you're going to focus on long-term versus short-term goals and help them see that, you know, owning a house might be something that's long-term. You're not likely to own a house 2 years out of high school. Yeah, it's possible, but just kind of helping them see how their goals fit into the factor of time. And you can even tie in some of their SMART goals into this conversation as well. And then you can also focus on organizing goals by categories. And by categories, we're talking about family, physical or fitness, mental health goals, emotional goals. Maybe they might have some financial goals or money goals. They might be considering getting a part-time job or something like that. So helping them think about their goals in terms of different categories. And then they can just kind of write those out either on a sheet of paper or on a worksheet that you may choose to provide for them. And then the last 2 lessons, lessons 3 and 4, are the vision board activity. And for this, you can prep them and have them bring these worksheets in so that they can keep focus on their actual goals and not just cut things out of magazines just because it looks cute. Like, how does this picture tie in with some of the goals that you've set for yourself? So I would not stretch it past 2 working sessions for the vision board activity, just because if you have to bring in all of the supplies, you might not be interested in that. You may run out of supplies. Students tend to lose things. They might lose their board and all of that. So if you can keep it to 2 sessions for that physical activity, I think that timeline works well. Now with supplies, some people purchase all of the supplies and bring in everything. Some schools that are well-funded have lots of resources. You can borrow things from the art room and things like that, or you may ask students to bring in stuff. It's really up to you how you decide to do that. But the top set are just kind of the basic things that you will need for the activity. You're gonna need a large paper. It can be white card paper or it can be construction paper, but on the bigger side. But it needs to be thick, kind of like the card stock, because they're going to be gluing lots of different things on there. And thin, regular printing paper is just not going to cut it with the weight of the items and the glue and things like that. You're also going to want to have magazines. And if you're prepping for this in advance, you can ask teachers to bring in some of their old magazines that they don't mind donating, or if you have your own, or if the students have their own, you can sort of have a collection of magazines come in through donation for this activity, because they are going to cut them up. So make sure that if you're asking teachers to bring them in, let them know that they're going to get completely torn. Pairs of scissors. Again, students can bring their own, or if you're supplying them, that's fine. And then glue sticks, glue rollers, different sorts of tape. The optional items that can enhance the activity, the creativity of it, are personal photos. So students, if they know in advance, you can encourage them to bring a photo of themselves or maybe their family to add some more personal touches to their vision board. Markers, crayons, crayon pencils, and other artistic supplies, things like that. Stickers, washi tape, and other worksheets that they can fill out. Those are not required, but they definitely enhance the activity. So if you have them or if the students have them, they can bring them and just be willing to share them with others. So these are just some sample screenshots for some of the different things that you can use. So up in the top right, this is just the breakdown of the SMART goals, that if you're doing the multiple lessons, you can talk about this in detail and break it down and take their goals and turn them into SMART goals using these points of questions in there. The top over here, my goals, this was a worksheet that I got from Teachers Pay Teachers, and the worksheet has 3 different goals on there: academic, like a personal, and I think a physical, like a fitness goal. This can be used again as one of the worksheets, either for the single session or one of the worksheets you do in the multiple session that students can bring and use these goals as a jumping off point for their vision board. And then this also gives some timelines for them to look at when they want to achieve it. These bottom 2 are worksheets that can be, parts of it can be cut out and just added to the vision board. So words I will live by, they can take the clips of words from the magazines and paste them all in that section and then just cut out this section here and put it on their vision board. Maybe they have a list of books they want to read or places they want to go. So they can cut out as many or as little of these sections and fill them out and then put it on their vision board. And then these are just some cute and fun phrases printed in color, can enhance the art for vision boards. So that was if you were doing it in a physical, doing a physical board using physical paper. That is the most traditional way of doing vision boards, but it's not the only way to do vision boards. You have the option to do digital vision boards, and we'll look at Canva, Pinterest, Google Draw, and Google Slides. I won't go into too much detail on Canva. The presenter yesterday in the first session, she went over different tech tools, and Canva was one that she mentioned. So definitely refer back to that if you want more instructions on how to use Canva. Also, let's look at some considerations for digital vision boards. The student's age. If they're younger kids, they're gonna need more hands-on support, some more hands-on instruction. And if you're doing this from a virtual place, meaning the kids are home and you're just instructing them from online, it might be a little bit more of a challenge to instruct them on how to use the different digital platforms. But I'll show some of the more easier ones that can be used. Older kids, they don't need as much. COVID-19 has definitely changed a lot in how we're doing things. And so although the first part of the presentation I talked about, being in a physical classroom, that might not be the situation that you run into in the fall. But also, even if you are in a physical classroom, maybe you don't want to share supplies and have the exchange of germs, because we know that students are, especially the younger ones, they exchange a lot of germs. And so if they're sharing pencils and markers and things like that, that might not be the most hygienic. But again, the digital vision boards gives you an option that you can still do this activity. It's still fun, it's still creative. But in a digital space, there's less transference of germs and things like that. And then the last consideration is asynchronous and synchronous learning. If you all have been doing the online platforms, you know that you can do scheduled or pre-recorded activities and things like that, or you can do live the way that we're doing this session now, and you can kind of talk students through. I think that it goes better if you can talk them through live, because they might not have questions, or they might have questions. And if you're doing it asynchronous, they may not be able to answer or ask you the questions at that time because it's pre-recorded. But it can be done that way. You could do a pre-recorded session, upload it to the class, and then run it during the class time that you would have, and then just kind of be in the available chat for when students have questions, where you don't have to do it in a live way, so to speak, but just kind of be there. So there are multiple ways that you can do that. So onto Canva. Now, as I said, the first morning session yesterday, she basically did a couple of videos explaining how to use Canva. You can use it for so many different types of activities, but for vision boards, it's really good because they have templates that you can use. They don't specifically have a vision board template, but you can be as flexible with the kind of template you want for the vision board, or the students can be. They have customized size paper. So maybe some students want a smaller pocket size, maybe a 4 by 5 inch size card that they can work on, or someone might want something larger so that they can print it out on a large scale. Canva allows you to put in customized sizes for paper, and that just gives you a little bit more flexibility. It also allows for collaboration. So if you're working on this digitally, the students can add you where you can view or edit whilst they're working on it. They can share the link with you for their final project, and you can view it from there. So they don't have to worry about printing anything out because it's all just there in the platform. Or for later and future activities, you can have them work in those groups or teams. So that's a benefit of Canva. Some other features that Canva allows that might be good for vision boards are the videos, the GIFs, and the music. Now, because it's in a digital space, those features will only live in the digital space. If they go to download it and use it some other way, they won't have access to the animation of the videos and things like that. But if they're just showing it from their device, those things can enhance what their vision board looks like and just add a little bit more pizzazz to it. Some downsides though to Canva, if you're using this for vision boards, is that again, the videos and things may not be accessible, but also the music on Canva is not always free, and neither are all of the images. So students need to be careful of that, especially if they're using templates that have pictures already in there. Some of those images do have a cost. So when they go to download it or share it, it'll tell them, oh, you need to pay to use those. So they just need to kind of be aware of which images are free, which music is free. But I believe that they can upload their own, they can definitely upload their own images and just use only their images on there. But Canva is a great tool. This presentation was created on Canva. It's very easy to use, but it also has like mature features, the different fonts, the different colors, the different categories of templates. So here are some of the templates for mood boards, which is in essence what a vision board can be. For some students that might not want to start with a blank slate, they can start with a template, because some students, they don't feel like they're the most creative, or they just run into like a creative block. So mood boards is a good way to kind of spark some ideas on themes that they can use. They have color patterns and palettes that they can focus on, and they can swap out these images, add their own text, and modify these to make it more personable. Now on to Pinterest. I think the majority of us in this session, Pinterest is something very familiar to us. I like Pinterest, probably been using it for quite a few years, but I never quite use it as a vision board. But it definitely can be used that way because within the name itself, it's a pin board for your interests. And so some of the good things about Pinterest is that there's no limit to the number of boards that you can have. You can have as many boards as you want, and they can be as narrow or as broad as you would like them. It has the option for creating private boards. So maybe the students don't want certain boards to be visible to you, or to other people that they may be connected with on Pinterest. So there's that privacy setting there. Within the boards, Pinterest is updated where you can have board sections. So that is good for organizing the pins into subcategories within a board, which is really good. And I looked up some of the stats. Typically, the group that's using Pinterest are people between ages 18 to 24 years old. So if you are working with older students in college or, you know, in that age group, this might be a good platform to use for that group. One of the other features that Pinterest has added is this section here for dates. This can really be useful if they're trying to set concrete goals with concrete dates for when they want to achieve them. And this is something that you can use as a follow-up. Like if you're following the boards that the students create, you can look at it as a point of conversation and just kind of check in with them to see how they're doing on that particular goal. And then of course you name the board based on whatever category, and then you click the create button, and it's very, very easy to use. Pinterest also allows you to save and print the boards, save them as PDFs, and then you can print that, and then that can be saved and shared in other places. If there's no internet access, they can still have a connection to their vision board from Pinterest. Google Draw is a part of the Google Suite platform, and it's probably one of the easiest, I would say, platforms to use. One of the good things about it is that it syncs well with the Google Classroom because it's all a part of the Google Suites. This is great when you're creating assignments in Google Classroom, and also where you can add frameworks for younger students. So if you're doing this as a 7th grade, 6th grade, or even 5th grade activity, you can add some frameworks, some categories to give the activity a little bit more structure for younger kids. And then with the features in Google Draw, they're just very simple. So if you've used Microsoft Word or even Publisher, it has a lot of those same features, or even Google Docs. You can insert images, you can search images from the web, you can add squares. So it's a very simple platform, and because it syncs so well with Google Classroom, I think that works well if you decide to create this within that as an assignment, so to speak. And down here at the bottom, it also gives you the option in Google Classroom where you can make a copy for each student. So you only need to create the framework one time, and then when you upload it as an assignment in Google Classroom, if you choose make a copy for each student will have their own version of this vision board where they're putting their own independent images and phrases and goals on there. And if you're doing this from a virtual setting where you're not necessarily in the class with them, you can still see real time as students are working on the assignment. You can click on the various ones and see who is working on what, and you can give them feedback right there and then. But on the negative side, some students, especially the older, the ones that have more tech abilities, the high school kids, they might find this too kiddie and too simple, too basic, and they might want to do, you know, maybe Canva or something a little bit more involved. But if you're not super into the tech stuff and you just want to give like the younger kids some sort of fun way to do it, this is an easy way to do it. And Google Slides, again, within the Google family, the Google Suite family, it definitely syncs to the Google Classroom pretty easy, which makes it very easy to use. If you have used Google, or if you've used PowerPoint, or if you've used Google Slides and you know that it's pretty easy to navigate, you can create a theme with a color and fonts and everything. And each slide is its own board in the same way that Pinterest has all those different boards. And so they can have as many boards as they want, and they have more space where they can put a lot more detail. And down in the note section where you would typically put presenter notes, they can put notes about their goals. They can put them in SMART goal format, and they can keep that all right there. The other good thing about the Google Slides is that if you choose to do a follow-up activity as a presentation, because it's already in Google Slides, it makes it very easy for them to go from the boards to presenting because it's already there. So Google Draw, Google Slides, they're all within the Google Suites family and they sync. But maybe some students don't like that it's so simple, but you can add audio files to this. You can add videos. They can put YouTube clips and different things in their vision board here as well. With Google Slides, they can also print the slides on one page or multiple pages, and they can print it and keep it somewhere and then put it up on their room, somewhere visible if they want to move it from a digital to a physical item. So that's another great thing about Google Slides. Some other things to consider when you're looking at the digital aspect of this is internet access and computer access. Now I know that not everybody has reliable working internet access, but this activity can still be done digitally without the internet using applications like Microsoft Word, Publisher, and PowerPoint. Now, the downside to this is they're gonna have a limit to the images that they can get because they don't have the internet. They can't just pull, they probably won't be able to put internet related videos. If they have videos on their computer, they can definitely put those in there. But there are some limitations when there's no internet access. And then also if there's no internet access, you may need to send an instructional packet home either through email or some way to get the activity done. And then with computer access, if students are sharing one computer within the home and there's multiple kids, they may not be able to do it on their computer. But if they have their cell phone, if they have a cell phone that has internet, they can use their cell phone because Canva, Pinterest, and the Google Drive apps all have apps that can be downloaded. And in fact, Canva and Pinterest are actually pretty easy to use on your cell phone. And Canva allows you to download and share straight to your social media platforms. So if after they've created their vision board and they want to share it publicly with their peers and things like that, they can definitely do it. So you've done the lessons, they've done their vision boards, they have this nice, creative, artistic representation of their goals. They're feeling motivated because they're looking at their vision board. But what's next? It's not just a one and done activity. It is something that you want to add value to by doing some follow-ups. So here are some suggestions on what students can do as follow-up activities. One of the things that I like to do is if this was done as a physical board, I would ask the students to keep their boards so that I can post it in school for a week or two and have the teacher and ask them to show their teachers their boards. And then they can kind of do a mini presentation of their board to teachers or classmates and things like that. And it gets them talking about their vision, their future, their goals. The other part, they can do a presentation to their peers in the class if that's something that they feel comfortable doing, or you want to add that as another layer to the activity, that can be done. Or you can just have them present in a one-on-one to you, or you might encourage them to present to the people in their house, their family members, just so that they're engaging in some sort of like public speaking and just adding some more skills to the activity. Another thing that can be done is a short reflective on the experience. I like to give students some choices in how they share their ideas. And so you can have students do a written, reflective, maybe 1 or 2 paragraphs. You can have them record kind of like a selfie video. You know, we're in the age of social media, and students are often pretty comfortable recording themselves. Or if they don't want to be on camera, they can send an audio message reflecting on the experience, how they felt. Are they thinking about their goals more? Are they, did they enjoy the experience? Do they feel like the goals that they put on their vision board are things that they can achieve later on in life? Whatever sort of questions you want to get them probing and thinking about the experience they had in the goal setting and in the vision board activity itself. And then a post-activity evaluation. So sometimes in doing this activity, if students did theirs digitally, I would print it out for them and give it to them. Or if they have a physical board, I ask them to take a picture of the board and then put that on their phone as the lock screen or maybe the background. And then I don't talk about it anymore for maybe about a week. And then a week later, I ask them to complete a post-activity evaluation created in Google Forms. And the ones that I've done have been very simple, just kind of gathering information like about how many times did you look at your vision board, 5 to 10, 10 to 15, that sort of thing, not at all. Or if they have the physical board, I ask them to put it up in their room somewhere that they are likely to see it. And so I ask those types of questions in the Google form just to get more information about what they did after they completed it. Did you work on any of the things on your board related to your goals? How did you feel about it? Did you share this board with anyone in your home? Just kind of yes, no, I kept it to myself, that kind of thing. Just to kind of collect some data on it and then get their thoughts. So you can do, either, or you can do the short reflective, or you can do the post-activity evaluation, but they're in some ways kind of the same thing, just kind of collecting the data in a different way. The Google form is better if you need to collect statistical information, you can do so. But if you just want them to reflect on the experience, you can just use the short reflective. And then lastly, the one-on-one session with you as the counselor. The vision board activity is not the end-all be-all, it's just the beginning of the goals. It's that inspirational piece. And so when you have the one-on-one sessions with the students, you can ask them to bring in the vision board or pull it up on their phone and use this as conversation talking points with them. Ask them to identify the different things on their board, such as the long-term goals and which things are short-term goals. What is the meaning behind certain pictures? Why did they choose that to represent this goal? So to get them to really think beyond just the surface of the image. How will they feel if or when they achieve that goal? Who can help them on their way to achieving specific goals? And I think this one-on-one follow-up is great, especially for maybe some students that are struggling behaviorally. This can be a way to look at their motivations, help them focus on the things that matter. And if they're struggling with their behavior or their academics, you can kind of bring in the overarching idea that, every little step matters. All of these things that you're doing here now in school can lead you to this dream, this future that you have in your mind's eye. And this vision board is a good way to kick off those conversations with some of those kids that are struggling to see the point or purpose in why they're in school or why they need to study algebra. Because they need to see something tangible, and this vision board gives them something to hold on to, something to focus on. Now, let's talk about the alternatives. So for students, you can also do this in group style activities, whether it be like a lunch group or a small group of students. You can have them do it as a collaborative activity. Excuse me. Or you can have them do it as a homeroom activity where the students collaborate on overall class goals with their homeroom teacher involved as well. They may have overall goals for, behavior, attendance, or an average grade for everyone in the class, maybe. And then the homeroom teacher can be involved in whatever reward is put in place for the students. And so it takes the vision board activity from just being inspirational to something actually tangible and something to work towards. And it just elevates the whole idea of goal setting, because now they have this visual that they can post inside their homeroom, and it can be posted, maybe towards the board where they're always looking at. It can be a point of conversation for the homeroom teacher in the mornings, or if they have weekly homeroom sessions, just kind of reminding the students, hey, we said that the goal was to not get more than 10 detentions in the entire classroom. And right now we're at about a 5, and we still have 2 more months to go in the semester. So it can be used as an incentive to help keep the students on track. So if you are doing this as a classroom, homeroom, collaborative activity, you can break students into multiple groups. First, you can have all of the students talk about the goals in general, and you can assign a few students to turn those goals into SMART goals, very specific goals, and one set of students can write those down. Then you can task another group of students to work on the physical board as a group. You can have some students going to the magazines, you can have some students working on the board itself. So you can assign different roles for the students to participate in this activity. Or maybe they may have multiple vision boards for their class where there's multiple groups doing the activity together. And then you can also do it as digitally as well, where everyone in the classroom has access to one document and everybody contributes to that one document simultaneously. So all of those can be done during that homeroom time or those multiple homeroom periods, especially at the beginning of the school year. I think I saw some comments about doing those at the beginning of the year. You can do it at the beginning of the school year as well as at the beginning of January. So maybe the students have met their goals at the end of the semester, and they get their reward. So then when they return in January, this can be another jumping off activity to help them set new goals for the new semester. Or if you think about the year from January to December in that platform or that format, it can be done that way and just kind of work through it in the same way. With older students, maybe your students, your juniors and your seniors, if you want them to do some sort of like college career vision board or a board with a more narrow focus, they can do it similarly. You can have them pick out, their dream universities that they would like to attend and what they would look like, what would their college experience look like. So maybe if they're interested in sports, they may put that, they want to play varsity football or volleyball or something like that on their vision board. But the overall idea is to help them narrow down their focus. And it's an incentive, again, for keeping them on track, especially for seniors who struggle with senioritis in their last year. It's a great tool for helping them get back on track and reminding them that, hey, this is what you said your vision for your life is going to be. You got to keep working at it. This is what you said you want. So you can have them focus just on that one particular area rather than multiple categories like family and finance and all of that. So that's the other variation that you can use. And then lastly, this can be done as an in-service session with adults. So if you have an opportunity to lead or facilitate any sort of PD sessions for your colleagues, this can be done collaboratively within departments where they can do this as a team building activity and really envision what their ideal classrooms look like, what their ideal department goals would look like, and not just writing out the goals in words. They can add some visual tools to that, and it can just be a fun activity that different departments do. Or much like the vision board parties that we might have seen online and things like that, the entire faculty can do their own vision boards, and you can have music and things like that. So those are some other ways that you can do those with adults. If you teach, I guess, what do you call it, alternative learning situations where the kids are older, I think that it ties again with the students who struggle behaviorally, just kind of identifying their motivations. What is going to inspire them? What things for their future they want to achieve, and tying it in with other goals. What are some short-term goals that gets you to this point? What gets you to going to Paris? What gets you to that nice job? What gets you to that nice house that you want? And helping them connect those short-term goals, those academic, those in-school goals with their future can be really good points of conversations. Any questions?
I'm muted, everybody. If you have any questions, we have about 2 minutes before we wrap up and get ready for our next one. I'm sorry, came through.